Okay? A unit rate is a measurement, is a rate in which the denominator has a unit of 1, right? Is 1 unit. Okay? So, 215 feet per second is a unit rate. It means you're going 215 feet per 1 second. And so that's what makes it a unit rate. Now we want to convert that to miles per hour. So we're going to convert feet to miles and seconds to hours. So how many units are we converting?
250.
No, how many different units are we converting? How many different units are we converting? Well, just 2. We're converting feet to miles and then seconds to hours. Okay? I understand where the 4 came from, but just 2, right? We're converting 2 units, so how many different conversions do we need? How many different ratios do we need? Dylan? If we're converting 2, okay, if we're converting 2 units, we need 2 converting ratios, and then, right, our initial fraction will be our third. So I understand where that's coming from, too. Okay? So 215 feet per second. Now, we need to create 2 different conversion ratios to help convert these units. Okay? Now, it's the same thought process in converting 1 unit. I want to divide out the existing unit and leave behind the one I want to move to, right? So I want to convert out of feet. I need feet to divide out. So feet is in the numerator in our existing units. That means I have to have feet
on the bottom
in the denominator somewhere else, right?
Yeah, so they can cancel.
So we can put feet here.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, in this particular ratio, we've got to match feet up with miles because they're both measures of length. Okay? And that's going to help us divide out the feet. Now, if I want to divide out the seconds, I've got seconds in the denominator of my original fractions. That means I've got to have seconds in the numerator somewhere else. Right. And again, since seconds is a time measurement, we want to match it up with hours. And just from a unit standpoint, that's where that's how our ratios need to look. Now we can go to our conversion factor and plug in the similar measures between these two. For instance, there's 1 mile. In 1 mile, there's 5,280 feet, right? Excuse me. In 1 hour,
Bless you.
thank you, there's 3,600 seconds. Okay? Now, going back to our units, our feet are going to divide out, our seconds are going to divide out. Okay? And then when we multiply through, we're going to be left, from a unit standpoint, with miles
146
over hour. Okay? So we're going to take 215 times 3,600 and divide that by 5280. And right, it's 146 miles per hour. Okay? Let's try this guy. Let's convert 5.2 gallons per minute to ounces per second. If I want to convert 5.2 gallons per minute, it's a unit rate, so I know that means that in the denominator there's 1 minute. Now there are 2 units that I want to convert, and so I need 2 ratios to help me do that. Okay? Hang on. These 2 ratios are only designed to divide 1 unit out and replace that with another unit of a similar type of measurement. Okay? So when I create these 2 ratios, I've got to make sure that they're measuring the same type of measurement. That's weird. that they're representing the same type of measurement, whether it be length or time or volume or whatever. Okay? So what I mean by that is, yes, we need to divide out gallons. And so if gallons are in the numerator here, gallons have to go in the denominator in one of these other two ratios. When I try to figure out what units go in the numerator of that ratio, it has to be a unit that measures the same thing that gallons does. Right? And it's got to be,
Ounces.
right, it's got to be your ounces. Now, in this third ratio, just looking at the units, I've got to divide out the minutes.
Oh, I know these things.
So minutes go up here in the numerator. And then the units that go in the denominator have to measure the same thing that minutes do. And that's got to be your seconds. I don't care about numbers right now. I just want to make sure that the units are placed correctly. The numbers become sort of the easy part of this. It's the units, trying to figure out where the units go. Okay? Yeah.
You said that for the second set it was minutes.
Okay, now we're going to place our numbers. Minutes and seconds is the easy one, right? In 1 minute there are 60 seconds. Now, ounces to gallons might be a little tougher. So on the front of your note sheet, it tells you that 1 gallon is 128 ounces. So we're trying to create two ratios that give you the exact same measurements in the numerator and the denominator. Okay, so we're putting the equivalent amounts in the numerator and the denominator. Okay, now, just from a unit analysis standpoint, we can cross-simplify. Gallons will divide out, minutes will divide out, and we're left with ounces in the numerator, seconds in the denominator. That's what we want. And so now we have to actually multiply our fractions out. 5.2 times 128 times 1. And then 1 times 1 times 60 is just 60. So now we take 5.2 times 128, divide it by 60 to get to our unit rate. You should get 51.3 ounces per second. No, 51.3 ounces per second. That's your units. Okay? Try the next one. Yeah, I gave the wrong answer. Sorry. When you convert this guy over, your 5.2 gallons per 1 minute should actually go to 11.09 ounces per second. Sorry, I got that number mixed up with a different answer. 11.09. Sorry. Let's see what you got. 35 miles per hour. We want to move that to feet per second. Okay? Okay, we're going to convert 35 miles per hour to feet per second. So, 35 miles per 1 hour. Converting 2 units, I need 2 ratios to convert. Okay, I want miles to divide out, so I'm going to put miles down here. And I'm going to put miles with feet, since those measure the same thing. And then I'm going to put hours up here, so they'll divide out. And I'm going to put seconds with it, since those guys measure the same thing. Okay? Now, for every 1 mile, there's 5,280 feet. For every, 1 hour, there's 3,600 seconds. Divide out your units. You're left with feet. Per second. And now we got to do 35 times 5280. and divide that by 3,600.
Wait. Hold on. Can it not be a fraction?
Okay? So yeah, it's 51.3 feet per second. Okay?
Do we write down here?
All right, so why are we doing this? Jeff and Linda are racing to school. They both start at different locations, 12.5 miles from school. Jeff is traveling at a speed of 75 feet per second. Linda's traveling at a speed of 55 miles per hour. Who will reach the school first?
Linda.
Since they're both starting the same distance away from the school, then obviously the one that's going to reach the school first is the one that's doing what?
Fastest.
Who's going faster. So who's going faster? Right now, 75 feet per second and 55 miles per hour, you can't tell. So what you want to do is take one of those rates and convert it to the other one. Okay? It doesn't matter which one you do. Which one do you want to convert? 75 feet per second or 55 miles per hour?
55 miles per hour.
Fine. We'll change that into feet per second. Because you guys are weirdos and you measure your speed in feet per second. No, it's all right. It doesn't matter which one you change. Okay? So we're going to convert 55 miles per hour into feet per second. It's a unit rate. I've got 2 units I want to convert. I'm going to create 2 ratios to make that happen. I want to divide the miles out. So miles need to go down into the denominator over here. That leaves feet having to go in the numerator here. I want to divide out the hours. So hours go in the numerator over here. And I put with that seconds in the denominator. Right? So 1 mile is 5,280 feet. 1 hour is 3,600 seconds. So now our miles will divide out, our hours will divide out. 55 times 5,280 will give me feet. 1 times 1 times 3,600 will give me seconds. And so now when I multiply that out, 55 times 5,280, and then divide that by 3,600, you get anybody? What is it? 80.7 feet per second. Now for the other 3 classes that are watching these notes, we obviously converted feet per second to miles per hour, so don't freak out when this is a little bit different. Okay? Now the 80.7 feet per second is how fast Linda is going. So who's going faster?
He is.
Linda.
I think Linda is.
Oh.
Because last time I checked, 80.7 is faster than 75. And so that means Linda's going to reach school first. Right? Good. Next guy here. Ginny and Matt are on a hike. They both have 4 gallons of water. Ginny's drinking hers at a rate of 0.75 ounces per minute, and Matt is drinking his at a rate of 0.25 gallons per hour. Who will run out of water first? Okay? Try to figure that out. Okay. So, since they both start with the same amount of water, it's all a matter of which one's drinking faster. Right? But they're in different units, so let's make them the same. Doesn't matter which one you change. How about we take our ounces to minute and convert it to gallons per hour? Okay? So Ginny, we're going to convert Ginny's rate. So again, we need 2 conversion ratios. I want to divide out ounces. Ounces in the numerator in the first fraction, that means ounces need to go in the denominator of another fraction. And I got to put gallons with it. Minutes need to divide out. So minutes are in the denominator over here. I got to put minutes in the numerator in this last guy. And that means we've got hours to show up in the denominator over here. Now put in your conversion factors. In 1 gallon, there's 128 ounces. In 1 hour, there's 60 minutes. We divide out our ounces that are going to, or our units that are going to divide out. And so we're left with gallons per hour. And we've got to do 0.75 times 1 times 60, or just 0.75 times 60. Then we got to do 1 times 128 times 1, which is 128. Which gets you to 0.35, thank you, gallons per hour. So, who's drinking faster, Jenny or Matt? Jenny is. And so Jenny's going to run out of water first. Jenny will run out of water first. Okay? Questions, issues, concerns?